When Willard's white moonlight returned to the country, she started seeing me as an eyesore. In response, Willard had me thrown into prison. When I was released, he came to pick me up. Don't make her mad again. I'll still take care of you, he said. I smiled back. No need, I have a new sponsor now. Then I turned and got into the car of his art. Raoul Willard's expression immediately darkened. Just try and see what happens if you're with someone else. When I got out, Willard was there to meet me, leaning against a sports car. He stood out in the dull gray surroundings of the prison. He handed me a cigarette. Tough time, wasn't it? He lit it for me, surprisingly considerate. I'll take you to buy some jewelry to make it up to you. I looked at his handsome face, his long eyes partially concealed by dark lashes, making it hard to tell what he was thinking. A half smile played on his lips, casual and aloof. He spoke as he walked. Apologize to Brianna when you get back. Tell her you won't upset her again, and I'll hide you away in a villa she doesn't know about, an elegant home with my own little treasure, he added. Brianna is his fiancée and my mortal enemy. She was the one whose word put me in prison, leaving me to nearly die there. Now miraculously alive and out. Willard wants me to apologize to her. I looked at his indifferent face and suddenly thought back to years ago. Years ago, Willard had handed me a cigarette in just the same way. I heard your family went bankrupt. How about sticking with me? My family had gone under. My father ran off, leaving behind my critically ill mother and me, who knew nothing about survival. My mother needed a large sum of money, which I couldn't come up with even by working 3 jobs. I begged everyone I knew, even resorting to kneeling, but all I got were sneers. This world respects the high and mighty and tramples the weak. I had nowhere to turn in my darkest hour. Willard saved me. I became his mistress, and my mother got her treatment. I moved into his villa, drove his luxury cars, and wore exclusive high-end jewelry. Once again, Willard told me to simply enjoy it all. When emotions ran high, he would kiss me in the dark of night and say, just stay by my side, be happy, and don't overthink it. But after experiencing bankruptcy, I was no longer lazy. I pushed myself to exercise, practice yoga, and keep my figure in shape. I endured excruciating beauty treatments to maintain my appearance. I picked up my long-forgotten skills in piano and violin, always ready to perform for Willard. I even studied finance, art, and literature just so I'd have something to talk about when Willard felt like chatting. The cruelty I experienced after our downfall taught me one thing: if someone's willing to spend on you, it's best to keep them happy. I used to be known as a spoiled and unreasonable socialite, but now I had even learned the art of tea ceremony, not to mention baking and cooking. I even mastered horseback riding, ready to serve whenever Willard wanted me on his estate. Willard would often hold my chin, his other hand brushing my face. You don't really have to do all this. All you need to do is look pretty, I responded with a perfect sweet smile. Mr. Willard, I'm more than willing to please you. Willard helped me. I owed to him to be devoted, but perhaps I was a little too devoted. I became so focused that forgot I was merely his purchased amusement. I even found myself secretly calculating our birth dates, daydreaming of a future together, united until the end of our days. Before my family's bankruptcy, I was a young socialite myself, so no one had told me that the first rule of being a mistress is not to fall in love. Falling in love only brings misfortune. I didn't know this, so when Willard's white moonlight Brianna returned, I paid the price. Willard loved Brianna, and Brianna loved Royal. She followed Royal abroad, and that was the day Willard took me in. I later understood that Willard only kept me around because Brianna and I were sworn enemies in high society. He was venting his frustration at Brianna's lack of love for him, but back then I thought Willard genuinely liked me. I had no sense of danger. It had been a long time since Willard had come to see me, and I thought he was busy. When I called, he hung up, and I thought he was preoccupied. One day he returned and collapsed into bed, faint red marks on his neck. I assumed he was just stressed, immune system worn down. The next morning, as he cuddled my exhausted body, he murmured, I won't abandon you, don't worry. I felt a surge of sweetness, thinking he was reassuring me because he was so busy. Only when Brianna came to find me did I understand what he'd really been busy with. Brianna looked at me as though a pedigree dog inspecting a stray eel. How did you stoop to becoming a mistress? She sneered. Willard proposed to me last night, and I accepted. She showed me her Ring eel a mistress is what a long-term bed partner, not even a real rival, just an object to satisfy desires. I stared at the ring. I'd once sent Willard a photo of that ring, bashfully imagining the wedding dress I'd wear, but now it was on Brianna's hand. I wanted to endure it, but I couldn't. Mister was too sharp a word, and that ring was too blinding. Willard had treated me so well, I'd come to believe I was worthy of competing with Brianna. In hindsight, how foolish. I raised my hand and slapped Brianna twice. The sounds crisp and clear. She froze, clutching her face. My workouts had made me quite strong. She glared coldly, then laughed. You really think Willard spoils you, eel? He kept you around just to spite me. Wait and see, there'll be a time when you'll regret this. At the time I was nervous. But when Willard came back that night, he didn't scold me. In fact, he was even more passionate than usual. Half asleep, he carried me to the shower. Before I drifted off, he said quietly, Brianna means a lot to me. You shouldn't have hit her. Curled in his arms, I forced myself to look up at him. Willard pulled me closer, inhaling my scent. You need a little punishment, so you'll behave. I thought the punishment was just that intense night. Shyly, I kissed his chin. Okay, he tamed me into a canary in a gilded cage, thinking that as long as I stayed inside I was safe and content. Willard's behavior afterward didn't suggest any anger. He even brought me to his company, teaching me how to do business. Grateful, I followed his every instruction, obedient to a fault. Some of the tasks were odd, but I didn't question them. A month later, Willard's lawyer filed charges against me. Embezzlement. I didn't even know what the charge meant. I was completely stunned. I went to find Willard, but his office door was locked and my usual access code no longer worked. When I tried calling him, the number that was always reachable was now disconnected. When the police came to take me away, I still hadn't managed to reach Willard. Only his lawyer was there, coldly leaving me a message. Reflect well in prison. Weck, take care of your mother. And just like that, I was sent to prison.
Yesterday, to be fair, Willard did keep his word. While I was in prison, he never missed a single payment for my mom's expenses, and even visited her a few times, claiming he saw me as a sister and that I was just on a business trip. He told her he was visiting on my behalf. My mother, paralyzed and unable to call me, was thankfully calmed by Willard's little white lies. But I have no gratitude for him. I was his mistress, putting in the work without complaint. If there were an award for most dedicated mistress, I'd have earned a spot, but he was a terrible boss. Instead of raises or promotions, he offered prison sentences. When I reached the door of the private room, I glanced back and sneered. Willard, you're a real hypocrite. What kind of brother sleeps with his sister? Willard gritted his teeth. Has prison turned you this crude? Yes, thanks to you. When I first went in, I did my best to keep a low profile, treading carefully and staying out of trouble. I called everyone boss, trying not to offend a soul, but I almost got beaten to death for it, and I couldn't even get a scrap of soup at mealtime. Eventually I had enough and started fighting back. I was beaten to the point where I could barely move in bed. That's when Dale stepped in to protect me. Dale was sharp and ruthless. No one dared mess with her. When she learned about my background, she fell silent for a moment before sighing. Back in the day, I even visited your father once on behalf of my company. She started sharing her food with me, teaching me how to read people and how to curry favor with the tougher inmates. She taught me how to fight the hardest way, advising me to either take a beating quietly, or if I decided to strike back, to go all in. No holding back. Taking a beating won't kill you, but fighting back might. Think it through, Dale would say. I looked down at my blood-stained arm and closed my eyes. I had tried so hard to be the dutiful mistress, only to end up in prison. I'd humbled myself, hoping to survive as a model inmate, only to be treated like a dog. I was sick of it. I was done with this world that trampled on me. I had once tried to compromise, to break down my pride and grind it into dust, but the world treated me like garbage. Lying there in bed, staring at my own blood staining the sheets, I felt my pride stitch itself back together piece by piece, making me lift my head despite the dirt on my face. From that day on, I would no longer compromise. I would no longer endure. I could risk my life, but I couldn't lose my dignity again. I'd get it back, even if it cost me my life. Every day after that, I fought without hesitation, without fear for my life. My scars bought back my pride at the cost of hiding my waist forever. And now in this circle, I was going to replay what happened in Prison all over again. When I returned, I wasn't sure what Royal had told everyone, but the way they looked at me changed. With a little respect, Royal's family might have been new money, but their influence was growing. People looked down on them yet still held some fear, warning their children not to cross the Royal family. After a round of drinks, Royal was drunk, wobbling as he held my hand and walked me out. Willard's face darkened. "Where are you going?" I looked at him, puzzled. "Going home with Royal." "Of course, where else?" Willard took a deep breath, gritting his teeth. "Shouldn't you go check on your mother?" I blinked. "Now in the middle of the night?" Willard fell silent. Brianna glanced up at him, clearly unwell. "Willard, I don't feel good," he snapped back. "I'll take you home on Royal's car ride home." My phone buzzed. It was a message from Willard. "There have been many new money families, but none have lasted to the third generation. I'll give you one more chance. Come back to me." I couldn't help but laugh. I showed the message to Royal. He propped his chin on his hand. 3 out of. I asked him, "What's the score? To make a move 8 or higher?" I'd say. I nodded, closed my eyes, and stopped talking. Royal sat beside me in silence, watching me from the back seat. He drove me to one of his empty apartments, and as I got out he suddenly spoke. "Not all new money families are brainless. Some are reliable." I wasn't sure why he was saying that, but I nodded absent. He stared at me, his eyes bright. "In the dark night, when all of this is over, what do you want to do?" I shook my head. "Haven't thought about it. Let me know when you decide." Royal smiled and closed the door. As I walked up, I realized that smile was actually pretty nice. The next morning I got a call from my mom's hospital. "Miss Ethel, we terribly sorry, but we've run out of rooms. We'll refund your payment, so please arrange for her transfer." I froze. Was that even possible? After a moment I understood. Willard had shares in that hospital. I called Royal. He immediately got in touch with a better hospital and arranged for my mother's transfer. Royal took the doctor along to move my mom while I stayed behind to pack up her things. Within an hour he had her settled. It was then that Willard arrived. Seeing him I was ready to leave, but he blocked my way. "Do you really hate seeing me that much?" Did he even need to ask? A smart dog doesn't block the path. I gave him a sideways look. "You couldn't even tolerate my sick mother, yet you expect me to be grateful?" Willard's face darkened, his brows knit. "Eel, you know how to make me change my mind. Stay away from Royal, and I might consider letting your mother stay here." "Don't bother." I cut him off. "I've already moved her to another hospital." I stepped aside, showing him the empty room. "Now we're truly done. Clean slate." Willard looked shocked, then clenched his jaw. "You think you can just walk away like that?" he smeared. "What's gotten into you? Royal is just new money. So what? He's younger, better looking, better in bed, and doesn't have a first love hanging around to make me sick." I smirked. "Tell me, Willard, where can you even compete? Even just a little?" A vein throbbed on Willard's forehead. "Ethel, I've been too lenient with you." He grabbed my chin. Enough of this defiance." He crushed his lips against mine, anger in every movement, forcing my arms behind my back with such strength that I couldn't break free, so I didn't struggle, going limp, as lifeless as a doll. Willard stopped. "You didn't used to kiss like this." I wiped my mouth in disgust. "Because I used to take my job seriously." His face darkened. "Stop bringing that up." He cued my face and kissed me again, but still no reaction. I was like a corpse. Willard looked at me, baffled. "Ethel, what's wrong with you?" I lowered my gaze and chuckled coldly, pulling out an alcohol wipe from my bag. Ignoring the harsh scent, I wiped my lips thoroughly. "What's wrong with me? I've finally given up." Back then I focused all my efforts on getting close to him, and he repaid me by throwing me in jail. Now he's here asking me what's wrong. I wiped my hands with a wet wipe and tossed it into the trash. "I don't need your money now, so why should I react?" I stepped around him and walked out. "Willard, thank you for kicking my mom out of the hospital. Now the last thread connecting us is gone." Myself around 10, he called me again. "Are you coming back?" I was getting a manicure and told him Royal wants to have lunch with me and asked me to wait. "You can go back first." With that I hung up. When he called again, I didn't pick up. After a while Willard sent me a message. "Eel, don't treat me like this. I know you're getting a manicure." I could hear it. "You used to care about me a lot. It hurts to see you like this." I looked at the message and smirked. Before I went to prison I had texted him too. "Willard, don't do this to me. I'm scared." But he hadn't even replied, only told his lawyer to tell me to reform. Well, I replied to Willard, "I still need another hour. Are you willing to wait?" Willard replied with one word, "Wait." An hour later I saw Willard's silver Bentley parked downstairs. He was leaning against the car, smoking, eyes shut tight in a cloud of smoke. He only opened them when he heard my footsteps, bloodshot and weary. "You left me hanging on purpose." He seemed bewildered. "Ethel, you used to care about me. What can I do to make you go back to that?" Willard lowered his head in front of me. "I know you still love me, Eel. I give up." "Okay." I silently watched him, head bowed. After a moment I held out my hand. Willard, I'm too tired to walk, carry me upstairs. Willard bent down and lifted me up. All right, he carried me up, poured me a glass of water, and even helped me take off my shoes, things he'd never have done before. He even went down to the grocery store, took off his expensive suit jacket, and cooked me a meal. Watching his busy figure, I suddenly felt a bitterness for my former self. If this is all it takes to make Willard care, what was the point of everything I gave before? Brianna called as Willard was wearing an apron. Making soup for me. Tomorrow is Brianna's birthday and also her and Willard's engagement anniversary. She asked him what his plans were for tomorrow, but Willard, staring impatiently at the bubbling pot, said, "You handle it." Then he hung up and brought a bowl of soup over to me. "Break up with Royal, won't you? I can keep doing this cooking and taking care of you." He glanced at my waist, lowered his head and said, "I owe you that much." I sighed the soup in silence as Willard cleaned up the room. I answered Royal's call. "Hey baby, what's up?" Royal asked. "Is Willard there?" I murmured a confirmation. Royal said, "I'll come over." "I don't trust him alone with you when you're not fully mobile." I paused. "Don't forget what I said." Royal hesitated before replying bitterly, "I shouldn't have partnered with you in the first place. It's a headache every day." I hung up. "And Willard?" asked Royal. I nodded. "He thinks I'll get bored and suggested I work at his company." Willard put on his jacket to leave, looking upset, but just as he stepped out, he turned back. "There's a company out of town called Mega Profit Ventures. If you're willing, you can go there directly as a manager." He looked at me, almost pleading. "Ethel, just get away from this city. Let's start over." After a long moment I nodded. "All right, I'll give you another chance." Willard's face lit up like a child's. "I knew you couldn't forget me." I gave him a soft smile. "Time to start." Willard arranged for me to be transferred to Mega Profit Ventures. Mega Profit Ventures isn't closely tied to Willard's main corporation. No one knows it's his. Royal flew out to see me. "I'm worried Willard might take advantage of you. I'll stay here with you for a while." He looked at me deeply. "The plan doesn't matter as much anymore. Your safety is more important." I avoided his gaze and changed the subject. "And it comes to relationships, one mistake is enough. Only a fool makes the same mistake twice." When I joined the company, no one was convinced of me at first, but after handling mistresses in prison, a regular job was nothing. I worked hard, showed my skills, and quickly earned my colleagues' acceptance, not to mention that Willard visited me several times, making it clear I had his favor. Gradually I won them over, although I wasn't given access to the core business. They no longer kept financial matters from me. I often worked late into the night, staying until the entire office was empty. Once Willard called me drunk in the middle of the night. "Ethel, I bought a villa near the company and finished decorating it." He added, "Said there are good international schools around. If we ever have kids, their education would be covered." Confused, I asked, "Why are you telling me this?" Willard chuckled happily. "I want to settle down in that city with you." "Have a few kids?" I asked. "And Brianna?" Willard was unfazed. "She won't come to this city or cross paths with you. This home would be ours." I felt sick, but smiled sweetly. "Then get me a promotion first. Don't just make empty promises." The following week I was promoted to vice president of Mega Profit Ventures. I worked even harder, staying until everyone else had left. It was easier to get things done when no one was around. Royal had assigned 2 programmers to assist me every night. They helped me hack into the company's systems to retrieve what I needed. I stayed up until the early morning each day, sleeping only 4 hours before rushing back to work. I lost lbs. My eyes constantly shadowed, my lymph nodes frequently swelled, and I occasionally broke out in rashes. It was the price of sleepless nights. Royal frowned. "Are you really planning to take down Willard even at the cost of your health? Is it worth it?" I smiled. "Yes, it's worth it." They had once ground my face into the dirt, and I happen to be someone who values pride above life. Late at night in the office, sipping black coffee, I thought of Dale. She hadn't just taught me to survive in prison, but a lot more: how to forge accounts, launder money, manipulate the stock market, trace clues to uncover major schemes. When I was released, Dale had styled my hair and sigh, "We all pawns." Willard discarded. "I still have a few years left, but you're different." Her eyes sparkled with hope. "You can go out there And show them that a pawn can still overturn the game board. Dale had once been a high-ranking executive under Willard, but he had pinned a scandal on her, leaving her to serve over a decade. That's Willard's style: use you until he doesn't need you, then toss you into the abyss without a second thought or even an apology. He laughs it off, light-hearted and at ease, but I find their laughter sickening. I want to, as a discarded pawn, not just overturn but shatter their board and smash their arrogance along with it. I put down my coffee, pocketed the hard drive, and went downstairs to meet Royal for dinner.